Hi there, I'm Dean Heskin. Thank you for tuning in to our podcast, The Secret War on Cash. I'm also the president and CEO of Swiss America Trading. I left that part out, but for those of you who've been tuning in, you already knew that. And you already know the next step of this process. I'm going to bring my co-host on, Chris Agelastos. Chris, good morning to you.
Good morning. Surprise, I'm here.
Yeah, you are here. You look great. Fantastic. All right, so I hope all is well in your world. We are cruising right through 2025, already into the month of February, comfortably into the month of February
Yeah.
at this point. And kind of quite a bit's been going on. And today we're going to talk actually specifically about metals, gold and silver
Mhm.
in particular. And as we see, ACC is putting on our first article here, gold rises to fresh record as Trump tariffs trigger haven demand. Okay, so we know gold price has been on the rise. There's been an abundance of people talking about $3,000 an ounce, if not more, this year. And
Yep.
these are the same people who, for the last 2 years, were talking about gold, going over 2,000 an ounce, which it did, and then getting over 2,500 an ounce, which it did, and now, we're looking into $3,000 plus range.
Yeah.
So it's interesting this is happening, but this is a. I'm going to ask you a question as we look at this article, Chris, and I don't have the answer to it. I have my opinion, but I don't know if you have the answer. But as you look at this, gold rises to fresh record as Trump tariffs trigger haven demand. So this is not a new phenomenon or dynamic where people look at gold as that safe haven or kind of a
Yeah.
hedge, whatever you want to call it, a way of becoming more diversified. But they're relating it or comparing it to, or how you want to say, blaming it on the
Hmm.
Trump tariffs,
Yeah.
which have been obviously a hot topic ever since, even before he took office, actually. So here's the question: in so much as gold is responding, it's moving. Would you say, or do you believe or think that the investment world out there believes that these Trump tariffs are a bad thing? And the reason I say that is because when you look at what gold prices are doing and what this article is talking about, how investors are kind of flocking to gold right now, and again, they're relating it in this article to the tariffs. That to me suggests that the investment world is probably not all that keen or hip on what he's proposing with tariffs. What are
Yeah.
your thoughts on that?
Well, I think the investment world, right? The stock market um, is somewhat of a house of cards, and tariffs are something that are big enough that can affect a lot of different segments of the market, positively or negatively, very quickly. So I don't know if everybody out there is voting on whether or not the tariffs are good or they're bad. They can go either way. I think what it is really the instability of not knowing which way things are going to fall, exactly how it's going to affect us. What it's going to do to the markets, whether or not he's going to continue to push these tariff buttons and kind of increase the heat on these other nations or not. And so when you're not sure which way things are going to go, people will tend to step back a little bit and look for some protection. And then when you look at especially physical gold and silver even, there really isn't a downside to parking some of your money there, so there's really very little downside risk. There's a lot of potential risk in the stock market right now, and so it makes sense for people to move some of their money over. The economy is and has been sluggish and slowing down a little bit. We've got a lot of indications that are pointing to higher inflation coming this year as well. Those are all things that help boost gold prices. So it's a nice protective play, but it's also a place where you can make some good money. And this isn't just you and I saying this. I mean, in this article specifically, it's Bloomberg, TD Securities, which everybody knew as TD Ameritrade, the Bank of Montreal. So it's not even just U.S. based companies. Um, and they even quote in here that a lot of wholesalers have been trying to move large volumes of gold into the U.S. before any potential tariffs are imposed, because that can affect metal prices in that regard as well. So there's just a lot of momentum, and there's really no headwinds. I mean, there's not a whole lot, um, you know, out there showing that metal prices are going to be stagnant or dip. And so it's a nice easy move for most investors.
Well, I get that, and I see that, and I'll tell you, it's funny you said headwinds, because
Mhm.
in the article here, I know you read it. They say, quote, these tariffs create a strong tailwind for gold. And being a
Yeah,
former person who used to love to sail, tailwinds are fantastic,
that's a good
because
thing.
that's how you get that's how you get cruising. You can't get
Yep.
enough tailwind.
Yeah.
Um, but here's the thing that's really, in a kind of mid through the article, and we talked about this in the just the previous podcast that you and I did. You know, the U.S. on Saturday announced tariffs of 25% on goods from Canada and Mexico, and then 10% of those from China, and
Hmm.
that's going to take effect here right away. The Canadian energy imports will face a 10% levy. But now here's the interesting thing, and I think we're going to see more of this. Ottawa unveiled a 25% counter tariffs on US goods. Mexico
Yeah.
pledged retaliatory actions, and Beijing issued a statement vowing, quote, corresponding countermeasures.
Yeah.
So we've got a tariff war taking place right before our eyes.
Yeah. I think a lot of people speculate that, future wars with the United States are mostly going to be financial battles that we fight with other countries, rather than physical conflicts, and this is an example of that.
Yeah, well, it is an example of it for sure. And here's the thing too. It literally is the United States against the world.
Yeah.
Like, you don't really hear a lot of this going
Right.
on between a lot of other countries there. And
Yeah.
like we talked about again in our previous podcast, how like India and Indonesia, it kind of working with each other and utilizing their own, local or domestic currencies. The U.S. is like we're in everywhere we turn, we're in a fight with somebody else. I mean, it just doesn't stop.
Yeah.
So that's gold. Gold's doing great. Taking a look at this next article, silver about to test all-time highs, excuse me, in
Hmm.
Europe. Silver, the follow-up to that, silver in US dollars will take off soon. And we've been talking about this for a while. Tell us what's going on with silver and why is it going to take off?
Yeah, so especially in Europe, which is sort of leading the charge here, there's been big increases in industrial demand, especially in the renewable energy and technology sectors. So solar panels, electric vehicles, computer chips, LCD TVs, smartphones, all of that kind of stuff requires silver. And been a much bigger push in the EU for some of these green energy, solar-like solutions. So they're just kind of leading the charge in that. So on the supply side, um, we're also seeing a lot of tightening in the mining. So there's only so much coming out of the ground. We've done a few episodes on this over the last few months, talking about how they can only really get so much silver out of the ground, and supply has been tightening for about 3 years now, and demand keeps climbing. And so it's simple supply and demand. When you start running deficits like that, prices are going to climb. So we're already seeing it in the EU. They expect it to follow here. Add to that, other nations, Mexico and Peru, have had problems with labor strikes and stricter environmental regulations, which we've seen here for a while, but are newer to those nations. So all of that is just kind of limiting production, and demand keeps climbing. So it's really just a perfect storm for price appreciation. It's hard to predict. People are always asking, well, when is this going to happen? How much? How much is it going to go up today? How much is it going to go up next month? And that's really hard to put a pinpoint on. but it's very easy to see we've had tight supply and increasing demand. We're going to see higher prices over the next 1, 3, and 5 years. It's just simple math. So as long as you're patient and you're willing to buy and hold and sit on this a little while, you should do very well.
Man, Chris, you know a lot about silver. Impressive. That's impressive. Maybe because you have a silver beard, it's in you, it's on
That's
you.
Yeah, I get more and more silver every year.
All right. Well, how can people learn more about silver? How can they acquire this same vast sea or ocean of knowledge that you have about silver or gold for that matter?
Okay. This sea is getting deep over here. Yeah, the easiest way is to just give us a call, 800-289-2646. You can also text us a message to that number, just letting us know you want some info about metals or silver or IRAs, whatever it is, anything investment related. And we've got free materials here. We'll put together a nice packet. We also have some things we can email you if you really want to get into it right away. And also, people here that will counsel with you and just help you figure out, is this right for you? How will it work with your current financial situation? What kind of tweaks can you do to improve your situation and whatnot? So also the website, I forgot to mention, SwissAmerica.com. A bunch of resources on there, and also a few areas where you can submit your information for a packet request.
All right. Well, there you have it. So thank you so much, Chris, for all the information. For those of you tuning in, thank you for doing so as well. And we look forward to talking to you more in the future. If you're not subscribed to our podcast, please do so and have a great rest of your day. Talk to you soon.
Take care.